Hey everyone. Okay, so just getting this out of the way right from the jump, yes, in my opinion, the animation took a huge leap this episode. Everything I thought about the first core and the build-up to of it slowly getting better each episode during this core, this you can tell that this was their goal. This was TMS's goal to begin with, to put majority of their resources into this episode, and with them going out all out on this much of a high note for the Death Row Prisoners arc. I am actually very confident going into the next arc, and it's not even in the, and honestly, it's not even the big things as to why I'm confident, but more so the little touches that give me confidence to say that, yes, I think going forward we are going to see a noticeable jump in the animation quality. It's not always going to be like an amazing episode, but I think we're going to start getting a little more consistent now. It just sucks it took so long. With that said, yeah, we get the big reveal this episode. Uzuki and Taro know each other, with Uzuki being the one to put the bounty on questions. In itself already says so much about Uzuki. That is the case. If himself, what he was past or how experienced he was, just like a recruit, at the JCC starting out. Even back then, like the fact that he killed Uzuki shows he was already he was already on the path of becoming the world's most deadly assassin. So to see Uzuki survive an encounter like that, it it does beg some questions, and one of the big ones that does stick out the most is this definitely speaks that this is one of that not killing Uzuki right now is one of Taro's major mistakes in his life, where he thought he did you see it in this episode. He genuinely thought he killed Uzuki. He didn't believe he was alive. He didn't believe for a second he could be alive. And seeing him stand before him, it's clear like he thought yeah, I actually failed to kill this person. So like Taro genuinely did believe he killed Uzuki during their first encounter, but the killing blow just wasn't as lethal as he thought it was. And again, given Sakamoto's surprise, Taro's surprise at Uzuki even being alive, yeah, I'm willing to bet on the latter that it was that he didn't he genuinely thought he had killed him back then, but he just failed to kill him. Now, and that conversation is also an example of what I meant by the little things really kind of making the difference in this episode, because while the action animation in this episode was amazing, little additions that weren't in the manga, like seeing the reflection of Uzuki in Taro's glasses, like little things like that are are what really kind of elevate an episode like this for me. And despite Taro very clearly stating throughout the series that he's no longer an assassin, I love how a lot of this episode is kind of Uzuki throwing so much of what he and Taro learned to become assassins back in his face. Like that for however, like it's this whole encounter with Uzuki is, I think, Taro having to come to terms with the fact that no matter how much he may say that he's left his old life, he's left his old life. He's no longer an assassin. I'm just a simple shopkeeper now. Like, this episode, I think, was the epitome of Taro learning it's a lot harder to leave that life behind without consideration of the past coming back to haunt you. Like, that is the one thing that is always apparent in stories like this, is that no matter how much you may want to leave your old life behind, there's always going to be something about the past that is always going to come back to haunt you. And that has been a present theme, like throughout all the series up to this point. But I think pretty much no more is it more prevalent than pretty much with the confrontation between Uzuki and Taro, and where Taro realizes that this was his biggest failure, that he failed to kill Uzuki back then. Now, obviously, this also leads to the question of why. What was it that? What was his reason for killing Uzuki? And I think this is where if I had to take a guess, a certain reveal I'll talk about that happened in the near bookend of this episode, I think does have a lot to do with it, and the mysterious person of a cow. But yeah, of course, yeah, like I said, animation top, animation was top. Animation took a massive leap this episode, and admittedly, the true quality of this episode didn't fully materialize until like maybe the second half of the episode. But even in the earlier parts of the episode, I could still see the improvement, even when it was maybe cutting a few corners here and there, because it didn't feel like. Because even when they were cutting corners, it didn't feel like they were cutting as many this time around, and just a few here and there. And then, of course, there's everything with Takamura, which is where like that and the fight between Uzuki and Taro, you can tell are both moments where the budgets exploded. Like it's almost as if when the animators saw it was time to do this very specific episode, they all cheered and said, "All right, now we can go really cut loose. We can put everything we've got into this fucking episode." Now, for those wondering, obviously in the episode we see that Uta, I think his name is, basically one of Uzuki's men basically sacrificed himself to quote unquote kill Takamura. Now, for those wondering, don't worry, Takamura isn't dead. He'll be back. Like, it's one of those things where just old men characters like that never die until they choose the time and place for themselves of when they're going to die. And yeah, with this episode wrapping up the Death Row Prisoners arc and the aftermath of it all, pointing us in the direction of the JCC by Hyo, yeah, my suspicions based on the opening were correct. This core is definitely going to end on the arc I'm currently reviewing. So in order to keep up as much as I can, you might see me do a lot of double chapter reviews for a while. So my episode reviews of the series don't catch up to the manga reviews again, which is actually better than it might burn me out a little, but I think this is probably still a better option than me doing what I did before with weeks of me doing non-stop Sakamoto Days reviews, because that definitely burned me out. This is probably the more efficient way to do it. The episode also dropped one final piece of information on us, which is that we hear the name of a cow. Someone else who also trained with Taro and Nagamo during their time at the JCC, and admittedly, the anime kind of makes it more obvious of what a cow looks like, since they showed her in the opening versus the manga where she takes more of a shapeless silhouette, but the opening kind of already spoiled. So it's again, it's one of those things where what's the point in keeping it a surprise? I would have. It's just one of those things where I think anime tend to think with the perspective of they've already read the manga, so why keep it a secret? I do also like near the end of the episode how the experience of going up against Uzuki both times now is already causing Shin to consider the steps to take in order to truly get stronger. Like, he doesn't want to remain static. He wants to move forward, get stronger, so he can not only fight alongside Taro as an equal, but also to protect his family. And with the way things are escalating, he has to find an answer very quickly, but at least we know he has a basis of how to move forward and in basically how his powers are developed. So he has at least taken the first step. Now it's about expanding upon the fundamentals of what he already knows. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much all I got for this review. If you enjoyed the video, like, comment, subscribe, follow me on Blue Sky, and on this Crunchyroll. Be sure to click the bell, hit the subscribe button, and just hit it around, guys. Dark Knight of Venice signing off. Later, everyone.